Good evening, welcome to Leicester Fan TV. It's Monday night at 7:30. We've only gone and won. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. And this, listen, what do you want to talk about? Foxes never quit. It's finally back. I don't know if the club actually listened to what we say, but we have been saying let's bring it back. And there it is on the back of the clappers. Love them or hate them. They made some noise on Saturday and we all enjoyed ourselves for a change. Join us tonight. Get your views in. We want to know who you thought played well on Saturday. Who would you be picking tomorrow night? Why would you be playing them? Is Soumare all that? Have I got it wrong? Maybe he's better than I've been making out. We want your views, your comments as we look forward to Leeds tomorrow night.
Welcome to Leicester Fan TV. Are you ready for the show? Thanks to our sponsors, ADT Taxis, Everards, Pukka Pies, Pink Car Leasing, Leicester Riders, Hollogram, The Fox's Arms, Peter's Pizzeria, Hope Against Cancer, and Newby Co estate agents. We want your views, we want your comments, so join us live. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yes, as ever, Monday nights, we're live 7:30 till 8. So get your views in, get your comments in live, and I can put them on screen. Andy Medhurst gets the first one in there. He says, poor display, but 3 points is 3 points. Andy, I know what you mean. I'm not getting carried away with that display on Saturday. I know a lot of people have said, Soumare, it's like the next coming of Christ or whoever. He wasn't that good for me, but listen, I'll take it. 3 points. He was better than he has been normally. Cags is the best, says GPM Moore. I agree that Cags has shown us what I think we all know we've potentially been missing. What has gone on between him and Rodgers? Who cares? He's back. Looks like he's going off to Atletico Madrid. Prenup signed, all that in the news today. We'll discuss that. Andrew, good evening to you. Hope you're well. Imran is watching, says, I was a bag of nerves on Saturday, but what a solid second half that was. Imran, it was a lot better than we've been seeing. Has Dean Smith, John Terry and Shaky been putting a bit of spine into that team? Somebody on the Facebook group saying a win's a win. Dorco, good evening, mate, says Vardy is still the main man, at least for the rest of the season. Big debate. Are you going to play tomorrow? Are we going to go as bold tomorrow? For me, Nacho has to start and we have to put a striker with him. Daka, Vardy, you tell me. Reed is trying to wind me up about Soumare. Listen, he had a better than... It was probably one of his best games, I'll give you that. But I'm not getting carried away with Soumare. I still think not... Look, fingers crossed we stay up. I just don't think Soumare is good enough for next season. But as Keith says there, keep the faith, guys. I'm not going to be downbeat tonight at all. I'm going to be upbeat because we won. The goalkeeper was wicked. I agree. Everson made a couple of important saves. I put Everson in my man of the match debate. I gave it to Sionku. Really gave it to Soumare. Who did you give the man of the match to? John Towers says, Soumare had a good game, but still not convinced. I agree. I'm the same. Cags has made a mockery of Rodgers' decisions. Again, John, I agree with what you're saying in there. Alexander says Sutar has to start. Well, I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think we're going to stick with the two that we had there. Got a great video, by the way, for you to go and watch. I'll play a clip of it later. Reedy and Sam have been picking their teams for tomorrow. So that's on YouTube. Go and see if you agree with their starting 11s. Jamie from the Foxes. Jamie, why aren't you working, mate? 7:35 on a Monday night. I thought the Fox's Arms in Alcudia, plug, was open now, mate. Anyway, Jamie, who sat there probably drinking San Miguel instead of serving it, says, just shows the problem with Brendan Rodgers and absolutely nothing to do with Cags. He has brought the fight back into the team and we have lost him at the end of the season because of it. Jamie, are you about to say hashtag bring Rodgers back? I don't think you are, mate. Are you? Dean, good evening, says, bag of nerves already. Still 24 hours till Leeds. Soumare was brilliant second half. Brilliant. I'm going to bring Simon in any second now because I'm going to start with that one. Simon, hopefully you're ready to join in. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Phil. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a lot better. I know you're a lot better because we've actually got 3 points finally.
Absolutely. Yeah, what a relief. I think we all went into that game knowing we had to get a win. It wasn't really optional. And, yeah, we dug it out. hit and miss performance. I agree with some of the comments there. But yeah, we got the job done. 3 points. On to the next one tomorrow night.
Well, let's start with Dean's summary there. I thought Soumare had a better than his normal performance. But for me, that's not saying a lot. But he was okay. But Soumare was brilliant second half, Simon. Would you go that far? Be honest.
I'll be honest with you, Phil. I didn't see that performance in him. I don't think we've seen anything to give us any inclination that performance was in him. It was absolutely up a few notches. Is he the finished article and is the jury out? Yes, of course it is, because it's one performance out of many, and the rest have been abject, if we're being honest, largely. But it was a huge improvement on anything we'd seen from him before. And to be fair, if he gets picked tomorrow night, difficult to argue with now after that on Saturday, I'd say.
So you are giving him a bit of a right. If you're watching this live, get your views in on Soumare. Was he all that? Would you start him tomorrow? I've got another one for you here in there. Jamie from the Fox's Arms says, Simon, what a difference Kaglar Soyuncu has made at the back. He has made a bit of a mockery of all this Brendan Rodgers stuff, has he not?
Well, it's clearly not football. I mean, was it not Rodgers that said before Christmas when he was asked in a press conference why he wasn't playing, that if you saw him in training, he was well short of the standard? I'm sure that happened last year. I mean, that is in complete contradiction to what we've seen the last couple of games. Because to be fair, against City, Man City, he was decent as well last week. Man of the match for me on Saturday.
Yes, I agree.
Huge leader at the back. No one's... or largely, I mean, I know you've had one comment, but largely no one's asking where Suter is at the minute. And yeah, I mean, what have we been missing for the rest of the season? How many more points will we have at this point if Rodgers, from what we can see, was making decisions for non-footballing reasons?
Yeah, indeed. Here, somebody on the Facebook group says Cags played really well. Keeper doing great. Again, we'll come on to Everson in a little bit in there. Sonny says another win, please. Richie says Leicester will beat Leeds tomorrow 4-0. Come on, the Blues. Adam saying, who's a bag of nerds? I'm in the Leeds end tomorrow. Adam, good luck with that, mate, being in the Leeds end up there. Imran is talking about Soumare. He says Soumare was terrible in the first half. Second half, he transformed into Patrick Vieira. Joe says Soumare was good in there. Richie saying Soumare was good. Not convinced, though, says Andrew, like me. Kaglar Soyuncu, I think, I don't know if it's been completely confirmed, but there's lots of talk, and it's that he signed almost a prenups agreement to go for Atletico Madrid, which was being reported in January, Simon. How can somebody be good enough to go to one of the top Spanish sides and just not be getting a look in?
Well, I think a couple of weeks ago he wasn't even in the country when we were playing, from what I remember. Well, on the bench, nowhere near the first team by a mile. Yet you got one of the biggest clubs in Europe caught in his signature. I think that says everything you need to know, that the reason he's not been playing and frozen out was not because of footballing reasons. It was because of Rodgers spat with him, and as a result of that, he got pushed out because I guess he challenged Rodgers' authority from the rumours that I've heard, and he didn't like it. I mean, it's just insane, that basically we're in the boat we're in partly because of Rodgers' ego, basically, in my opinion.
Yeah, it feels like it. Joanna says here, Shane Cags was left in the cold for so long under Rodgers. He did a rash tackle at Spurs away last year and really never recovered from that. Have to wonder if things have been different. He might be signing on an extension, not going to a free to Atletico. There was talk, Simon, that Soyuncu, this was about 18 months ago, could be worth 50 million and could have been going to Manchester City. That was the rumour. How have we gone from having players like Soyuncu for 50 million, even Tielemans for 40 million, leaving in the summer on a free?
Blimey. I mean, I agree with you, Phil. I think had he been playing this season, I don't think Soyuncu would be looking to move. I think he'd probably sign a new deal. I think he got to halfway point. He was nowhere near the team, being told to train elsewhere, etc., etc. And he decided to take his services elsewhere. Can you blame him? No. Is it a blow for us? Absolutely. With Tielemans, he's obviously been consciously running his contract down for a while. Yeah. I think we'd all love him to sign a new deal, but I guess unfortunately for us, we're going to have to find.
I'm not sure. I wasn't impressed by Yuri on Saturday. I was quite pleased when he got subbed off, Simon. I'm wondering with Yuri, is he worried now about picking up a big injury? Because with 6-7 games to go and no club nothing signed up. If he goes in for a tackle and was to take a really nasty tackle that ended his career or put him out for a long time, it's a very precarious place to be for him, isn't it?
He looked a bit lost last week against Man City as well. I guess he had that injury. He was out for a few weeks, had no training, no game time, and has come straight back into the first team. That's quite a big ask. And there's a lot of pressure on him at the minute as well, which doesn't help matters either. I think he'll come good. I agree with you. His performances have been a bit tepid the last couple of games. He gave the ball away for the goal on the weekend. He's still finding his feet a little bit, I think, from the injury. So I'd give him a bit of slack personally.
Yeah, absolutely in there. Just before we come on to some of the teams there, somebody's put in about James Moore's put Rodgers Gucci belt. There is a story about this, isn't there? Are you aware of the Gucci belt story, Simon?
I have not heard this one, Phil. No.
Do you know what? I can't remember it, but it's something about you. Somebody put it in the comments and remind us about it. Now, listen, before we get on to tomorrow night too much, I'm just going to play a clip. We've got a brand new video that comes out with Reedy and Sam picking the team. So just have a little look at this. This is their team selection earlier, and then me and Simon will give us our views on it.
I'm gonna go for Soumare as well. I just feel like if he's done well in the last game, so you kind of got to give him the second game. He's obviously there for a reason against Wolves. Everyone was thinking Mendy will be back in, or even Ndidi. We didn't see either one. They came as some game on as subs, but Soumare for me was probably the second best player on the pitch against Wolves. Not saying that a lot of players did have a good game against Wolves, but
yeah, you take what you can get. It was a tough game and it was scrappy, but we still won. And Soumare obviously was a big part. Component. He was a big part in the thing. A lot of fans would have said he was just behind Soyuncu, man of the match. So again, I think he's earned his place at least for the first half, because it's going to be tough going there. You need to see how they line up. If it's not working out, I'd take him off. He does deserve to get the first team spot in the first 11.
So Simon, that full video's up there on YouTube. Lots of selections. This is what Leicester fans all about. We'll debate things. I want to move on to how does Dean Smith take that attacking lineup, which was great to see on Saturday, to the Leeds game? He probably, Simon, is going to have to water it back a bit. How would you be looking at going and still being on the front foot? What sort of strikers would you be picking and setting up?
It was a risk, wasn't it? I think on Saturday he took, when obviously Maddison was called in sick on Saturday morning. He had to change things up. He probably wasn't going to pick that side until he found that out, and then he has to go with something else. And he went with something which was a gamble, and it paid off. Daka out left. Not convinced, if I'm honest. He looked a little bit at times like he was struggling with it, albeit he worked his socks off. I think he'll have to go more guarded. I thought we were a little bit light in midfield on Saturday in the first half, if I'm honest, Phil. Just with Soumare and Tielemans in there. They got a bit of a torrid time of it here and there. With the second half, obviously, with Vardy going off and KDH coming in, we settled down a little bit more. I think he'll look for three in midfield, at least in central midfield on tomorrow night. I don't think he'll go so aggressive. It'll be more of a mix. However, Leeds have lost the last three. They're in free fall. They're struggling for points. They're there to be beaten, in my opinion, tomorrow.
It sounds like John Towers says here, Barnes in on the left for Daka, Tete on the right, Nacho and Daka up front is how he would set it up. We are hearing that Barnes and Maddison are both probably available for tomorrow. Would you drop both of them straight back in, or do you think, hang on, we've just won a game, certain players have earned the right to stick around?
Well, Barnes is the top scorer this season, so very difficult to leave him out if he's fit. You've got to put him back in. Likewise with Maddison. I mean, if he's available, he's almost, you can't not pick him. How could you not pick James Maddison for Leicester City? You've got to pick him. So it is going to be a mix-up. Absolutely. I don't think I hope we stay with two up front. Phil, I don't know about you. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I hope we stick with that because I think it gives us that little bit more threat. What's your thoughts on two up front?
Well, I think for me, Simon, Nacho has done more than enough this season and certainly since Christmas to say he's the only striker who's scoring. Daka and Vardy, neither of them are scoring. I think Jamie Vardy's only got one goal since October in the Premier League. I think Daka's only got 4 goals in the Premier League all season. Nacho, I think, does add a different dimension in there, Simon. So for me, he is the striker who has to stay in there, and then it's just give him somebody with him. I'm so split on the Jamie Vardy thing. He did draw the foul, like somebody's put on there on Saturday, but he also, Jamie Vardy, right in front of us in front of the family stand where I sit in P1. Vardy had a chance in that first half where the Jamie Vardy of old would have just hit it and buried it, or hit it and missed, but he didn't. And you go, why are you not hitting that? To be fair, he did a nice drag back pass, which was missed by, I can't remember who, somebody kicked it against somebody. But it just looks like Vardy has not got that spark of confidence, Simon. So, but it's just a shame because Daka as well had chances in that second half, which he didn't finish either. It's an issue for us.
Yeah, and given the fact that Barnes is our top scorer, for me, for my opinion, I'm not saying I'm right, but I think for me he's got to come in, and Daka for me is probably the one that's going to make way, in my opinion.
Yeah, in there, Mark says in here he'd put Nacho, Vardy up top and drop Daka, which I think is along the lines of what you're saying, Simon. Bubba says here, start them both, no question. Which both are you on about, Bubba? Are you on about Nacho and Vardy or Nacho and Daka? Be interesting to know up there. Andy says, with two up front, you can play with wingers in there. Saw a little bit more from Tete, maybe, Simon. A little bit more, but I'm still not, again, I'm not going to get... my general from Saturday, Simon, which taking forward is, let's take all the positives and not dwell on the negatives. But also as fans is like, you can't just think we beat Wolves so we're going to be fine. Tomorrow is, again, for me, it's almost don't lose it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, when I looked at the next three games, which are a real winnable spell, I was thinking in my head, 7 points for the next three games. You know, like 2 wins and a draw. The 2 home games are the obvious ones to get 6 from. So I think don't lose tomorrow for me is the key. I think if we keep the momentum tomorrow and we don't lose, that's still a good result for me.
Reedy says here, Simon, big shout, but don't think we missed Maddison on the weekend. We was better in some way. Feel like Maddison has tried a bit too hard recently, including costing us a game against Bournemouth. I actually felt like maybe sometimes, like you said earlier, his hand was forced because Maddison was ill, but maybe that did help. But surely if Maddison and Barnes are fit, they do go back into that side, would be my logic.
I mean, imagine being Dean Smith, having Maddison on your bench and losing by the odd goal. I mean, you're going to get... I just can't see it. I think Maddison is the most creative player that we've got at the club. If he's fit, for me, he has to play. There's no two ways about it. He's a shoo-in for tomorrow if he's available. Yeah,
indeed. Andrew says here, at least Dean Smith is prepared to mix things up. Rodgers had one stubborn game plan, and that was it. Simon, again, I was quite pleased. It felt more like back to Leicester, pre Brendan Rodgers, pre Claude Puel. It felt back on Saturday. There was times I'm watching what Dean Smith, John Terry, and Shaky are doing, and they're out there and they're gesticulating, and there is a lot more like clapping and patting each other on the backs and giving it the come on. And I don't know, maybe I'm just old school, Simon, but I think when we're down like we are now, that's exactly what I wanted to see them like doing that.
Yeah, I mean, as fans, what do we want? We want to see passion, don't we? I mean, that's not just from the players; it's from the coaching staff. We want to see that they care, and it was quite clear. I mean, we know Craig Shakespeare is very passionate about Leicester City. He's got a lot of history there, but to see Smith and Terry come in and show that same enthusiasm for the club's great. And I think, from what we're seeing with that defence, it's looked for me since Terry started to get an opportunity to coach them, more organised than it has done all season. We look quite solid at the back now. We haven't looked like that all season. We've been leaking goals left, right and centre. Yes, there are still individual mistakes in the team, as Tielemans alluded to at the weekend, but it's getting better game by game. We're starting to get some momentum. You can see the shoots of something that this squad should be producing, Phil. Let's be honest. This squad's been underperforming all season. It's much better than its league position.
Yeah, Reedy says here, Daka has to start over Vardy. Only start Vardy if he has to support like last Saturday. Vardy can come on with 30 minutes left. Leeds' defence will be shattered. Simon, Leeds is one of those places. Ellen Road on a Tuesday night under the floodlights. Those fans will be absolutely up for it. That first 15, 20 minutes, what Leicester need to do really is go there and can't be very solid for that opening 20 minutes. Hopefully pinch a lead, because the fans at Ellen Road over the last few weeks, from what I've been hearing, a bit like what happens at the King Power, they will turn very quickly if things don't go right. And they've took a couple of beatings there the last 2 home games, haven't they?
Yeah, you wouldn't imagine they're going to have a lot of stomach for any negativity tomorrow. They can, as you know, be a ferocious crowd. But if things, I know Dean Smith today in his press conference alluded to trying to nullify the crowd early on. That tells me we're going to be a little bit more cagey tomorrow, and maybe not look for a kind of basketball game where it's up and down and up and down. We're going to play a bit more settled, and just try and nullify things a bit. And I think that's wise in the situation we're in, and the ultimate goal of the rest of the season.
Bubba says Reedy, the TV star. I think I've got a clip of that. Let me just have a look. Reedy was on Match of the Day, and I think he's put it. Is it a clip? Oh, it's look there. Hang on, there he is. Can you see him, Simon?
Oh yeah, there he is. Yeah, just at the front there.
There he is. What a legend. He's had everybody today at work and other people coming up to him saying, I saw you on Match of the Day. So he thinks he's an absolute international superstar now. Daniel says here, minimum 4 points of the next 2 games, he thinks. First goal could be key tomorrow, Mark. I agree. Although, like Simon says, Saturday, Simon, it was nice to see a bit of this back for a change.
Yeah, I think we got you to thank for that, Phil. I think that was your campaign, mate.
We have been saying Fox is never quick. Can we have it back? And somebody at the club might be listening. It was nice to see a bit of that spirit, though, to be fair.
I think it helps, doesn't it? It helps to just keep the momentum of the crowd atmosphere going in between the songs and all the rest of it. It just keeps that. It keeps it bubbling along. So, yeah, for me, I'm a big fan.
Ross says here, Charlie says 3 Tres Uno tomorrow, 3-1 in English. Thanks. Remember, he got the score right on Saturday. Yes, he did, Ross. Charlie did. Dean says here, Simon and Phil, if worst comes to the worst this season, would you still keep Dino, Shaky and Terry for next season? Simon, I almost don't want to ask you that question because I want us to be positive that we're going to stay up. But I quite like the cut of their jib at the moment. You know, I think... I'd like to hope, I'm going to rephrase that question because I don't want to ask you that question because that's too negative. I'd like to hope that those 3 have been put on a table, an offer which says, if you keep Leicester City up, you can have a season. That's what I hope.
I guess there'll be a bonus in there for keeping us up. I'm sure of that. And after that, you would hope that there's a contract. Because I mean, I think I'm seeing the shoot to something positive. I don't know about you, Phil. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I agree because I quite like the combination. I always thought back in the Martin O'Neill days, you had Martin O'Neill, who was the maverick, like, inspiration guy, and then you had Robertson, who was the guy who did the training. And we've sort of saw that under Nigel Pearson with Shaky and then Claudio with Shaky, that there's the guy who's really doing the training, and then you've got the inspiration. And I'm sort of seeing that with Dean Smith and John Terry. There's sort of a bit of an overlap because it seems like Dean Smith might be the guy who motivates them, and you've got Terry coaching, literally giving them experience, and Shaky, who we know Shaky's been a great coach, but not a manager. And I'd like to think John Terry's in that changing room because I've seen stuff of him when he was at Chelsea where he won't take any shit from people, John Terry, and he will demand more from people. And I just feel that's what's been lacking, Simon, over the last 6 to 12 months, is that level where you go, that is not acceptable. We lost away at Crystal Palace and they came out, Rodgers comes out, the players comes out and saying, well, we're too good and you know, it'll all come good because if we keep playing like that, we'll be all right. And I think the line had to be drawn and said, no, that's not good enough. So that's my take on it, Simon. How do you feel about John Terry and Dean Smith?
Yeah, I think that's old-fashioned management, isn't it, Phil? Like you said, Phil. You know, I think there's a lot of this, you know, arm round, you know, want to be friends with the players and try and build them all up and all this, that and the other. But there comes a point where you've got to draw a line and saying, look, you're underperforming. We need to sort this out. And sometimes people need talking to in a way maybe they don't want to hear. And I agree with you that the likes of Terry probably won't be scared to do that if he feels it's appropriate. I mean, ultimately, what have we just talked about the fact there's a rebuilding job to come in the summer. These guys are in, they're getting to know the squad. If they're successful in keeping us up, which we all obviously are absolutely desperately hoping that they do, then I think, for me, they're best placed then to do that rebuilding job in the summer, my opinion.
Yeah, indeed. Daniel says, seeing Cags playing well is a rubber stamp that Rodgers put his personal issues before the club issues. Probably right there. Harman says, I'm not worried about strikers, but wingers, they never cross balls inside. Poor supply to the strikers in there. Dorco says, all 3 of the wages are still probably less than what Rodgers was on. And again, Dorco's probably onto something there. That's why I say these guys, the 3 Dean Smith, Terry and Shaky have sort of been chucked on the scrap heap a little bit, and they may have felt like their chance to manage a Premier League club had gone. Obviously, they did pretty good at Villa, and then they, Dean Smith and Shaky. I think Dean Smith was it Shaky or Terry was with him at Norwich, but they got the boot in early January. So this has probably come as a bit of a shot out of the blue. I think they've admitted that, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think Dean Smith admitted that after the Bournemouth game, which he watched, he was on the fence at taking the job because he could see the work that needed to be done, and he realised there was a short amount of time and a lot of work to do. You've got to give them credit. The performances they're getting out of some of those players, we've not seen those levels of performances all season from those players. They're starting to respond to whatever Smith, Terry and Shakespeare are doing. So, yeah, I'm absolutely positive about what's going on with the management team at the minute.
Ross says here, we may be fighting relegation, but I'd rather fight relegation than be Spursy. 20 minutes down and 5-0 down. And don't forget, Ross, 1-0 in the last 20 years either. Scooby says, we'll stay up and hopefully them upstairs bash their heads together and steer this club forward again. But definitely investment is much needed. Now, Simon, we've got a couple of minutes left, so I want everybody who's watching this live to get their score predictions in. And if you're watching this on playback, put them in the comments as well. But I want you, Simon, as ever, to just try and sum up how you think the game might go and who you think might score the first goal and a correct final score. How do you feel it will go tomorrow?
We'll be a little bit more defensive than we were at the weekend. I don't think it will be as gung-ho. I think he'll look to, as we talked about earlier, just settle the crowd down a little bit so we're not playing in an absolute cauldron. Odd goal will win it if it gets one, I think. I don't think it will be a massive victory for either side. Personally, I'd go with 2-1 for us tomorrow. I'm optimistic after the performance at the weekend. I think we can build on that. I fancy Iheanacho to score.
Simon thinks, what did you say there? 2-1 and then Nacho.
Yeah.
Andrew says here 3-2 to Leicester. I've been putting some of the scores up there. Harman says 4-0 in favour of Leicester. Ross and Charlie are both going 3-1. 20-1 bet. Might stick a cheeky fiver on it. You never know, Ross. Liam says, who was the Villa signings Dean Smith made when he was there? Swear he brought in some good players. I can't remember, Liam. No, sorry, it's gone. Dean says 0-2 to Leicester. Come on, Maddison and Cags in there. Andy's going 1-1. Joe's going 1-1. Draws would not be the worst result tomorrow, like we've said. Mark says 4-1 to Leicester. Nacho first goal. Ian is saying they've lost 5-1 and 6-1 in the last two, so I'm saying 7-1. Ian, behave. We'd all like that, but behave. Imtiaz says 2-0 to Leicester. Liam is saying 2-0 to Leicester with Soumare and Vardy. About time Vardy got us one. Alan says 3-0. We're up for it. Harvey loves scoring against Leeds. He's got quite a good record up there, I remember, Simon, against Leeds. Lots of everybody's got nice and bubbly and confident, Simon, which is great to see. Gav's saying 3-1 to Leicester. Andy's saying don't care about the score, just want the 3 point. Andy, that's not the point. We're here to debate the score and the points in there, but I take your point. Jason saying 4-2 Leicester and Reedy saying 2-1 to Leicester. Daka and Soumare score goals. You're just winding me up there, Reedy. But if they do, I'll be the first to congratulate you on them, Reedy, and say that I've been saying Soumare and Daka are the best players we've ever bought, which they're not, but I'd love to say it. Simon, it is going to be exciting tomorrow night. So for all those fans who are going up there, have a good journey up there. The main thing, I think, is just don't lose, Simon. Don't lose. Absolutely, yeah. Just keep the momentum going tomorrow. Don't lose. Keep it going. More positives to go into the next one, which is very winnable against Everton at home next Monday. Yeah, Everton. It's just game by game. There's no point looking at Everton yet, is there? Because I think they play Thursday this week, and obviously the Leeds game. These two are probably the two most important games of the season, just because they are. I know footballers and managers hate to say 6-pointers, but they really are, Simon, aren't they? Yeah, and the games that come after that are much less winnable. So we need to get some points on the board in these two games. Well, come on in, Phil. What's your prediction for tomorrow? Because we haven't heard that yet. I'm smelling a win. I am absolutely smelling a win. Not that Saturday was brilliant, but it's the old Brian Little starting a wave. You've got to start the wave somewhere, and it started on Saturday, and it could very easily have not. When we went 1-0 down against Wolves, I turned to my lad Jake and I said, maybe we aren't good enough. Maybe we are going down this season. Who knows? But then somewhere it wasn't brilliant, but somehow they got it over the line. I thought Wolves were probably the better side over the 90 minutes, but Leicester pulled it back. So I feel like we've got a little bit of momentum. And if we can keep them quiet for 15, 20 minutes and then get a goal in that first half, I think it could go on to be 2 or 3-1. I'm going to say I don't care what the score is as long as it's 3 points, but I will go for 2-1. 2-1 Leicester, I think the same as you. I think they will score. So 2-1 Leicester somehow.
We're not great exponents at clean sheets at the minute, Phil, are we? That's the issue. We keep making these mistakes and giving away goals. We make it hard for ourselves at the minute.
We certainly do. Simon, listen, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you very, very soon.
Cheers, mate. Take care of yourself.
Cheers. Thanks, Simon. We'll let Simon go. That's absolutely great to get him on. Let's get the last couple of comments from you. Peter Taylor. It's not the Peter Taylor, is it? The famous, one of Leicester's best ever managers. Harvey will bag a couple tomorrow. I assume it's not. Nick says 2-1 to Leicester, nervous last 10 minutes. It's going to be a nervous last 10 minutes every game this season until we're safe. Adamski says really should be nicknamed Dark Cloud in there. Fulham not an easy place. That's in a couple of weeks. Scooby, you can't be looking ahead at Fulham yet. Honestly, we've got too much to get through first. Craig says most important game of our season so far will be pivotal. I know. Well, that's how it is. It is just game by game. I can't even think about Everton next Monday. Oh, by the way, we're playing every Monday for the next bloody 8 years, it feels like. So no more Monday lives, but there'll be Tuesday lives. So I'm just going to move my Monday night fan zone to Tuesday night because we're all going to be at the matches. So Sumari to score, Phil, says Reedy. Why not? Why not? And Daka. I don't care who scores as long as we win tomorrow. Scooby says 3-1 to Leicester. Dick off and Collymore. Scooby, it's 2023, mate, not 1998. Ross says in here, all fans get a scarf tomorrow. It's 45-minute train to Leeds. It's his local game tomorrow. Enjoy it, Ross, and enjoy it if you're up there. Get your free scarves out. Make sure you give them a massive cheer. We can't do the show without all you fans and all your comments. Thanks so much to Simon for joining us. Onwards and upwards, and don't forget, we'll be live before, during, and after the match tomorrow and on Wednesday. And looking forward to the Everton game, but hopefully we've got 3 games. Thanks everybody for watching, and thanks for these guys who help bring you Leicester Fan TV totally for free.
Thanks for watching Leicester Fan TV. Thanks to our sponsors, ADT Taxis, Everards, Pukka Pies, Pink Car Leasing, Leicester Riders, Hollogram, The Fox's Arms, Peter's Pizzeria, Hope Against Cancer, and Newby Co estate agents. Make sure to follow us on all of our social channels at Leicester Fan TV. Visit our website, leicesterfantv.com.